Hello, fellow Nigerians and listeners from within Nigeria and around the world. This is Smart Madu Ajaja, the anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and the Nightingale Radio International, and the convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite. Today is a great day. We have the honor and the privilege of having a diehard Nigerian patriot, a workaholic, a lover of Nigeria, here with us, the studio of ONN in Houston, Texas, United States of America. No other person than Dr. Lloyd Ukwu, coming here to discuss the state of the Nigerian nation today. Dr. Lloyd, welcome to the program. Are you hearing me? It's on the stage. Hello, Dr. Lloyd, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing very loud and clear.
All right, welcome to the show. Tell our listeners, viewers from within Nigeria, across Africa, a little bit about you.
Well, first, I would like to say thank you to you for giving me the honor to be on this program. Certainly, coming out of the diaspora, this program is clearly the best thing that ever happened to us here in, outside Nigeria. So I thank you so much, and I appreciate your agreeing to have me today. I also want to say hello to all your viewers all over the world, especially those who listen from Nigeria. Bring you greetings from the nation's capital, America's nation capital, Washington, D.C., USA. As he said a moment ago, my name is Lloyd Ukwu, and I'm from Nigeria. But I'm talking to you today from Washington, D.C., USA. I am currently the president and CEO of the National Democratic Coalition, for short, NADECO. It's a popular NADECO that you've been hearing. A lot of people don't really know the full meaning of NADECO, but the full meaning, as I said a moment ago, is the National Democratic Coalition. I haven't said that. Let me give you a little bit about the origin of NADECO, Mr. Ajaja, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Many of you will recall that in 1993, June 12th, there was an election in which Chief Moshood Abiola, popularly known as MKO Abiola, participated. It was agreed by the general public observers from without and within that it was the fairest and the most transparent election that Nigeria had had up till then. He clearly won the election, and election was annulled. That created a lot of problems. Very prominent Nigerians came together, not minding their various religions, ethnic groupings, and political affiliations, and all of that, all those hindrances. They came together and formed the National Democratic Coalition. It was called a coalition because it's a coalition of major groups across the country, from northern Nigeria, from the southwest, from the southeast, from the middle belt, from the Niger Delta region. They all came together. The likes of Chief Anthony Enahoro, Ibrahim Adesoya, Chief Ralph Obioha, and the rest of them, Professor Wole Soyinka, they came together and launched this group. Of course, the military leader, Abacha, Sani Abacha, then started cracking down on the members and started killing them. and killed Alfred Rwani, jailed the labor leader then Kokori, and a lot of them took off. Of course, life is important. They took off to neighboring countries. Those who had the resources took off to the United Kingdom, and the rest of them took off to the US and Canada. And that's how they reorganized in the United States. And in 1995, we registered the National Democratic Coalition, USA, in the United States. At the time, I was the general counsel, and I've been with them since 1995 till date. I have risen in ranks to become the president and CEO of the pro-democracy organization known as National Democratic Coalition, NADECO. That's, for short, the background of the organization which I represent.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the program. Today, we are going to be talking about the state of Nigeria. In 2023, Nigeria had what I would liken to be a historic presidential election. Over 92 million Nigerians registered to vote in that election because of the high stakes. But when the time came, the people came out to vote. I want to ask you a question, first of all, before we get to any other thing. 92 million Nigerians registered to vote, but the actual number of votes, the people who came to vote, were about less than 30 million. How can you relate to that? What do you think was responsible for that?
Well, a lot of what we know now are becoming very clear to us, that the election was just a sham. The election was held just to make it look like an election was held. The election was already predetermined in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. When I say outside Nigeria, by the West, by specifically the United States and European Union, led by Britain and France. So there is a book I picked up. That book is titled "How to Rig Elections," and I saw it on Amazon. So I was thinking it must have been written by an African or a Nigerian. So I was curious. I ordered the book. I ordered about 10 copies. And when I read the book, it was written by two professors from Oxford. And it was basically saying that elections in African countries are basically stage managed by the West, because they know that one of the cornerstones of democracy is the regularity of elections. So they advise their stooges, listen, make sure you hold elections every 4 years. No matter what happens, make sure you hold those elections so that the world will think you are a democracy. But what happens with the result of that election, don't worry, we'll take care of it. That's why during elections, they send observers to come. They look like they're very important, but at the end of it, they'll say, well, elections were marred by one or two irregularities, but overall, it was free and fair. Once they put their stamp on it, free and fair, the people that they sponsored, in this case, people like Tinubu, they go to town, they go to the newspapers, they go to radio, say, well, the observers came in and said it was free and fair. Yes, we had one thing here or the other over there, but in the end, election was free and fair. So that's basically what happened in the Nigerian situation. We know better now. I know we're going to touch upon that as we move on. We know better now the role that the United States played. We know that if they have their man, an asset, who wants to become a president, that's the biggest thing. It's very rare for you to find an asset of the CIA being the president of a country that they need, badly. So now, if you look backwards hindsight, they say, is 2020. If you look backwards, you can know where a lot of our problems came from.
Okay, I want to take us back to history. At independence, those who struggled for the independence and decolonization of Africa had one big vision, and the vision was the vision for the emergence of one country called United States of Africa, with one economy, without borders, with one central bank and one military. Now, we are where we are. I believe those people were visionary enough to see what we are dealing with right now about 80 years ago. How can you relate to what happened to scuttle that big vision? And what do you think can be done to reactivate it and drive it to conclusion?
It's the simple way of looking at the problems of the continent is like this. Africa is the new frontier, and the West has always seen it like that before we even recognize that fact. Everything the West needs can be gotten from the continent, and there is therefore little wonder why they ravaged the place, came in and partitioned the place, shared the place, had a meeting in I believe it's in Berlin conference, settled there and spread out the map of Africa and shared it. I think they're sharing an inheritance. So because they knew that they were going to get things to build their respective countries from Africa all along, even when those visionaries you refer to were pushing, they already knew that they cannot allow Africa to unite, because if they do, it means that the things we need to get out of Africa, we will not be able to to get them. So the biggest thing happening in the world historically is conquest. Even when you go back to the Bible, you saw a lot of conquest going on. Today it's still the same thing. I mean, you see Britain coming in, taking part of West Africa, and that's some form of conquest. You see the same Britain going to Argentina, taking part of Argentina, the Falkland Islands, which
yes,
they are a distance away from where they are. So what the West is doing is basically conquest in a different generation, in a different way. They cannot colonize us again, so there is a new colonialism where they use our people to make sure that we are destabilized. The continent it will be hard for the continent to stabilize, because they have people within the continent, people like the president of Nigeria, who are working to destabilize, for example, ECOWAS, and in turn the rest of the continent, for the benefit of the conquerors, the people who want to come here and come to Nigeria and take over the place. Talking about conquest, you go back into history and see how these guys left England and crossed over to the New England region and captured the whole of that area and moved into South and captured Texas, Florida, and moved into the Southwest and captured California. It's all continuous conquest, continuous. The superpowers are continuously trying to grab whatever they will use for the benefit of their people. Their catchword is in the interest of their nation, national interest. That's basically what they're doing. So you have two clashes now. You have those visionaries who had prepared the continent for the benefit of the people of Africa. And you have the people coming outside who are trying to disrupt and destabilize the place for the benefit of their own people. Go to Paris, go to London, come to Washington, D.C., go to New York and see how beautiful the places are. Where are they getting all those things from? They're getting them from, from other places, not necessarily Nigeria. They're getting it from other places, from India, from the continent of Africa, from, the Arab world. But some people have begun to learn and stop them from encroaching on their rights.
Thank you. All right, back to Nigeria. We are where we are. The election came, and a sad commentary of the state of Nigeria. And the judiciary was compromised. The armed forces was compromised. The traditional institution was compromised. The leaders of the organized private sectors were all compromised. And now, like, Nigerians are left to themselves. What do you think we should do now to recapture our country? Because our country has been captured, essentially.
Nigeria as a country is a very complex society. But let me say this. Aside from the creator and the maker of heavens and earth, the next most powerful institution in the world is the government. It's the next most powerful institution, the government, put together by mankind. However, in a democratic setting, it is only the collective power of the people that can challenge that most powerful institution called the government. And so it's a well-structured resistance by the Nigerian people. I think the first mistake that Nigerians made was allowing the results to even be announced. Nigerians ought to have stopped it. They ought to have come out and stopped it. That is what I refer to as the collective power of the people. Well, they allowed the man to announce it, the INEC person to announce it, and the INEC person knew that or suspected that something could go wrong if he announced it in the daytime, so they announced it at night. And by the time the morning came, Nigerian people had been placated. However, they did that. So it is the people. The only solution today to the Nigerian situation is the people. No, nothing can save Nigeria. What happens in Nigeria is after an election, for instance, let's take 2023. After 2023 election, Nigerians left 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, and started discussing 2027. Who is coming out? We will challenge him in 2027. They forgot, and those things are done on purpose. That is, leaving these countries, years that lead to 2027 and talking about the 27 was designed for Nigerians to just forget what had just happened and be very hopeful. And hope is good, but hope is very dangerous because you can hope and hope and hope and hope until you die. So Nigerians are hoping that by 2027, perhaps it will be better. Listen, Mr. Smart Madu Ajaja, no, it will be worse. It will be worse unless the people can organize. Let me give you a few anecdotes, if I will.
Go ahead.
In Pakistan, the Pakistan Bar Association dealt with a situation where the president, Musharraf, a military general, removed the Supreme Court justice because he felt that the person was going to rule against it. Exactly the same scenario that happened in Nigeria with Justice Onegin. I'm not pronouncing his name well.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that general removed the Chief Justice. You know what the NBA did? And not NBA, the Pakistani Bar Association single-handedly crippled the country. You know what the general did? The general reversed himself. And that led to his ouster. The man escaped to Dubai, where he later died, I think, a few years ago.
Oh, he died now. Very wicked man. Yeah.
So I'm giving you this example to say what Nigerian Bar Association could possibly do. Just Nigerian Bar Association alone. They could right the wrongs going on in Nigeria. You have a group of some of the most learned people in the world put together. Lawyers are learned individuals. But now you have an association of all learned people put together. And they're not able to do anything. You know, during their elections, you know what the government normally does? Government normally buys them, sponsors whoever is running for their president. And the government realizes the power that they control or they could control. And so they go in there, buy them cars, give them money to campaign. An American Bar Association, nobody knows when they hold their elections here. They hold their elections anytime they want to hold. Government does not get into it, you know. So these are some of the things that weaken the Nigerian people. The Labour Congress is weak. The National Association of Nigerian Students alone can stop all this nonsense before 2027. So the point I'm making is, if the Nigerian people can come together, they are the only ones that have the power. You know, Nigeria, we don't have a history of collective power of the people. The one closest to that was the NSTARS, where it almost succeeded. And if it had succeeded, what it means is that Nigerians would always have reference back to how they crippled the government and forced the government to do the right thing by the collective force of the people. And that was why the government, actually led by people like Tinubu himself, he was behind the scenes directing what to do, the killings and all of that. I don't believe that Sanwo-Olu could have given all those directives by himself. I think his master was behind, and he was saying, listen, man, if you allow these young people to succeed, that will be a history that younger people will be referencing to. So in Nigeria, we don't have a history of the type of what Kenya did. What Kenya did, or Kenyans did, goes back to their history, where they fought the colonizers. Yes. So when people remember their history and go back to it, it's usually very strong. If there's a history of one king who was brought to the playground, stripped naked, and killed by the people he is leading for mismanaging their clan. Next generations of Obas will always remember that. Listen, this thing happened to this Oba in 17 or 18 something. Let me make sure I do the right thing, because these people are crazy. So that's one of the things that is missing in Nigeria. Nigerians should get ready. Do not talk about 2027 in 2025. Don't. Talk about today, what we're going to do, and give an ultimatum to this administration. If you don't do this, there will be no 2027. And when that time comes, we shut it down. There will be no 2027. Why would you have 2027? Because if you do not know that 2027 is going to be worse than 2023, then you belong somewhere else. Because this man was not a president. He did what he did. Now that he's the president, he has all the powers to do anything he wants to do. How are you going to be able to stop him? In fact, he could just wake up on the day of the election and announce himself that he's not the president, and nothing will happen. And the people to whom he is an asset would come in and support him. So I think, going back to your question, the key thing is the collective power of the Nigerian people, not in 2027, but now. I see the government flying a few kites. The president of Nigeria is a very smart man, a man who has been able to weather all these problems, from Chicago to his drug problems to when he was running for governor of Lagos State, and Gani Fayemi was after him, and he weathered all of them. That guy cannot be an idiot. He's not an idiot. A man who nobody knows his elder brother or his younger brother or his senior sister or his younger sister, his uncle, his brothers, his mother, where he comes from, nobody knows. He just woke up one morning and assumed the name Tinubu, and nothing has happened. And you want to play with him? The man is a smart man. He knows what he's doing. So he's just sitting pretty and laughing at Nigerians who are talking about, we're coming together, parties are going to come together, we're going to challenge him. No, that's not what he's looking at. He has the levers of government to himself, and he's going to do the worst, aided by those who put him there. That's what's going to happen, and nothing is going to happen. So we have to start testing the waters now. Let me tell you, I said something briefly about flying the kites. He's talking about setting the state police. He's just flying a kite. He's not going to do it. You know why? One of the major problems of Nigeria that, if solved, can solve very close to 30% of Nigeria's problem is the police. Just look at it. You live in America. You see the role of the police.
Yes.
Government is like a corporate entity. Let's call it Nigeria Limited. It's a corporate entity with equivalent of the shareholders in a regular profit-making company, equivalent of stockholders. We call them shareholders, stakeholders rather. We are stakeholders. We have the chairman of the company as Bola Tinubu. We have officers, and the goods and services that the corporate entity sells is the protection of life and property and liberty. I added the third one, liberty. It's a new addition to the normal life and property. Liberty, because after you protect my property, protect my life, I must be free to enjoy those two things. You know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's life, property, and liberty. Now, that's what Nigeria company, the company that we are stakeholders of, is supposed to be selling. It has failed. It has failed in selling those things. So it's a company that has failed. Now, Smart, if you own a company in Houston and the company is not doing well, what do? You call the stakeholders, the shareholders, the stockholders. You call them together and say, listen, last year we didn't make money. Year before we didn't make money. What do we do? You're going to get suggestions. 3 major suggestions you're going to get. 1, let us scrap the company. Let's go to the company where we registered it and just say, we cancel this company. We don't want to do anymore, so that everybody will take its investment and go do something else. That's one. The second one, answer you're going to get from your shareholders will be, well, we didn't make money last year, 2 years ago. Perhaps we could make money in the next coming years. Let's manage the way it is and continue. Okay? The other one would come from some people who would say, let us sit down and restructure this company. Because we're in the business of making money. If we're not making money, let's see if we can restructure it. Restructure it basically means repair it. The word restructuring is repair. It doesn't go to the dictionary. Let's fix it. Let's repair it. Let's see what we can do to make it work.
Yes.
Now, Nigeria has to be repaired. It has to be fixed because it's not working. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. If your business is not working, you will sit down and see how you can fix it. So our leaders know that it is not working, and they don't want it to be repaired. Isn't that satanic? They don't want it to be fixed. They don't want it to do anything to repair it. So this flying of kite about police, it is making some people, and I've read WhatsApp articles and other newspapers saying, the man is trying, he wants to give state police. The governors were jubilating. People were jubilating. I just sat here in my NADECO office and laughed because the man has mastered the trick of dangling things to Nigerians. He will dangle to them and put it on the ground. They'll dangle this. He's coming. He's going to dangle more. He's going to dangle even the regional governance that we're talking about. Could you imagine where every state has its police? And you know, the argument Nigerians raise is actually raised by the government indirectly. The argument is usually, it's going to be worse now. Governors are going to control the police. They're using it to oppress us now. So indirectly, what the Nigerians are saying is the oppression from the governors will not be accepted, but the oppression from Abuja will be accepted. Where the IG can stay in Abuja and ask that Lloyd be picked up from Port Harcourt. That's enormous power. That if you take it away from the president, you've stripped him. Just that police power alone. If you're able to remove it from him, where he doesn't have the power to rig elections in states, he doesn't have the power to do so many of these atrocities they're doing in the name of IG. He doesn't have the power to go and pull someone like Dele Farotimi from Lagos and take him to Ekiti. So Mr. Tinubu is too smart to allow the police power to get away from him. He's just too smart for that. So I want Nigerians to know that up front. So it's not going to happen, you know. Nigerians, if they think he's going to do it, let them get together now and say, if you don't show us that this is going to happen, and we need to see it by the end of 2025. We need to start seeing the state police forming by the end of 2025. Otherwise, we're not going to, take it. So it's again everything everything you've been talking about. I've been listening to you. It's been about the people. What the people can do, because if the people cannot do anything, you and I, cannot do anything. So the people have been crippled. Some people say, and I disagree with them, that the Nigerian people have not been strong enough to fight in this democratic fight. No, they have been weakened by the system using two major elements: religion and ethnicity. Let me give you this very example. In NADECO in 1995, we had some young lawyers who were very active with us here in Washington, D.C. When Tinubu came on board, I called one of them, who was actually my second, very strong guy. You know what he told me? He said, Lloyd, the man is a Yoruba man now. I'm a Yoruba man too. So I can't leave a Yoruba man and support an Igbo man now. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Very prominent lawyer here in Washington, D.C. So his reason for supporting him was ethnicity. Okay? And I had two very good friends from the north in Abuja. One of them was appointed by Goodluck Jonathan, but he was a lawyer under the vice president, Namadi Sambo. And he made good money. He bought houses in Abuja. He was driving good cars. We were very good friends. We go out to IBB club to hang out. And when Buhari started running against his current boss at that time, Jonathan, he took sides with Buhari. So I said to him, but you are an appointee under this man. If Buhari wins, there's no 100% chance that he will give you another appointment. You are doing very well. You know what he told me? He doesn't care that the man is a Muslim and he wants to support him. So religiosity and ethnicity, those are the two major things. I had the honor of meeting Chief Emeka Anyaoku in Lagos, and he lectured me for 2 hours on this issue. Because I asked him, say, Chief, why is it that we're not able to crack this kind of? He said, you can't crack it. Because when they see that you're doing well here, they use ethnicity. When you're doing well over there, they use religion. So Nigerians are divided on those grounds, and so we are weakened. So for example, this MBA that I just talked about, if the MBA meets and decides to take a front seat in the democratic fight in Nigeria. Some guys, they are going to say, well, we're sorry. The man there that is going to be affected is from my ethnic group, so I'm not going to support. And they create confusion. So that is the problem. And I think that this problem could drastically be reduced if we have Nigeria restructured. Because when you restructure it, you're going to take into cognizance all of these issues. And I beg you to jump into something else. The Constitution of the United States of America is considered one of the best, one of the longest lasting constitutions in the world. It's not the longest lasting, but it's one of the greatest constitutions in the world. You know why it's one of the greatest constitutions in the world? Because it was written from their personal experiences. When they moved from England and crossed into the United States, they did so for a reason, because there were certain things that chased them from there. So when they came in here, they bound together through the Articles of Confederation, not a constitution, Articles of Confederation, because they wanted to live separately. They didn't want a central authority to guide them. So they formed that, the 13 colonies, Rhode Island, Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all that. They came together. But after some years, it was no longer working for them because the central government was very weak, which was what they wanted, because they felt that the strength of the central government in England was what caused their what they call it, their wahala that they were running from. So they didn't want to repeat the same thing. So they sat down and said, let us get together. And my brother, Smart, that is restructuring. They sat down in Philadelphia in 1787. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get together in Philadelphia and see how we can make these Articles of Confederation work. Not to write a new constitution now. They met there to make it work. So let them add a few things to make it work. The oldest person at that conference was 85. The youngest was 26. They spent months in Philadelphia in cold winter. And at the end, there were too many red pens on the articles. So one person said, wait a minute, instead of crossing this out, adding this paper looks tacky. Why not we throw this away and write a brand new constitution? And so they wrote the constitution, and they wrote the constitution based on their experience. Where we are coming from, they used to oppress us, so we must go to the Church of England. So let's make sure we put here freedom of worship. They didn't allow us to express ourselves. Let's put in the constitution that, freedom of expression. They didn't allow us to carry gun. Let's put the right to bear arms, so that in case the government wants to do to us what they used to do to us over there, we'll fight back. All the things you saw them put in the constitution were their previous experiences. So today, if Nigerians get together in Abuja or in Lagos or in Houston, as we're planning, to say, let us write a new constitution for Nigeria, it will be one of the best constitutions, because it's going to reflect all the bad things that have happened in the past. And they will say, this happened in Asaba. I know you're from Asaba area. That's why I'm using Asaba. This happened in Asaba. Let's put it there. This will never happen. The army will never go and sack any community. We'll put it in the constitution. This happened in Nahoda, in River State, which is where I'm from. Let's put it there. I'll raise my hand and say, please put this in there, because we don't want it to happen again. The police did this in Kaduna. Let's put it there. So it will be collective experiences of our past that we put in there. It will be so strong that even the ethnicity and the religiosity would whittle down, because the thing will be so fair that if an Hausa man is president, you won't even know that he's an Hausa man. Because he will do the things that you need done. When in the US they had Al Gore and Clinton, both of them from the South. Did anybody bother? Because they were doing the things that Americans wanted. So I ended there, so I don't.
Hey, thank you. You're hitting some very strong chords. Listeners from Nigeria, across Africa, and around the world, including the United States. Thank you very much for tuning in. We had an initial glitch where the two of us were not showing, and our technical crew has completely taken care of that. So it was so seeing something, one image of me, that was not what it was intended. But I'm happy that we're able to fix that. And please, if you are just joining, share this message. This is very, very important. And the person you are listening to is someone who has seen it since 1992 to where he is, where we are right now. He has been in the trenches fighting for Nigeria. This man, I don't know where his source of energy is. He's everywhere, doing everything. He travels around the United States. He's in Nigeria taking risk, even as he's saying this, he's a target of the corrupt Nigerian system. But he still goes to Nigeria and do things and get the message across to our people. Now, Dr. Lloyd, one very important question. And I know you know the history of Nigeria so well. And going back to the amalgamation treaty that was signed in 1914, involving 6 people. There was no Nigeria at the time. It was some 6 persons that eventually could be described by the benefit of hindsight as Nigerians at the time, even though there was no territorial space called Nigeria. Only 6 signed. 6. And these 6 people who signed were majorly from 2 ethnic groups, with 2 that they sprinkled on them. That is the Shehu of Borno and the Obong of Calabar then. There were 2 Yorubas, there were 2 Fulanis involved in the signing of the amalgamation treaty, to the exclusion of the Igbos, the Hausas, the Eka people, the Thieves, the Barons, the Igede, the Angas, the Robos, and the rest of them, numbering over 350 ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. They signed this in 1914. And this amalgamation treaty was to last for 100 years. 100 years came in 2014. And that gave Nigeria a rare opportunity, at least the terminal opportunity of a fake amalgamation treaty that created a fake country, give the Nigerian people the room to say, okay, now let us negotiate the future of a new country. What happened at the expiration of that amalgamation treaty in 100 years after? What happened? Why are we here still fighting and talking about restructuring, and president coming from the north, another one from the south, Muslim, Christian, Muslim, whatever crap that they are talking about? What happened?
Well, what happened is that the people who created this situation, want it to remain the way it was. The people who created that situation, and that is why oftentimes we refer to Nigeria as a fraud, as an illegal entity.
That's what it is now. It's illegal. Yes. Nigeria is illegal.
Yeah, and that fuels this cry for restructuring. It fuels it. It supports that argument, because Nigeria has long expired. Beginning with the fact that it was that agreement was an illegal agreement to begin with, but it has expired nonetheless. If we raise this argument when it hadn't expired, they will say, well, even if it was illegal, let's make sure it expires. But it has expired now. So Nigeria needs a new beginning now. And that new beginning can only be jump-started from this restructuring we're talking about.
Now, but some people are opposed to this new beginning, this restructuring that you are talking. Are we going to continue to be in their prison?
Well, if you look at who is opposing the restructuring, and remember the power of the media. Remember that the administration controls the media everywhere. They control the media in Nigeria. They pay them very handsomely. I've had some articles that some journalists refused to publish. They said, well, listen, we take ads from the Nigerian government. They pay us handsomely. So, Brother Lloyd, I'm sorry. I like what you're saying here, but we can publish it. So we are technically, as you say, we are in prison. We're actually in prison, a prison that doesn't have walls, and it's also a psychological, prison, So it will take millions of people like you to disabuse the minds of the Nigerian people so that they can know that the power lies in their hands. My campaign, NADECO's campaign right now, is to let them know that with their power, they can do pretty much anything they want to do. Listen, I had a conversation with a very high-level person, a former ambassador of the United States, and he was telling me, say, Lloyd, we get calls from Washington, D.C., telling us, listen, there's a fuel hike in Nigeria. Nigeria might explode, might do this, might do that. And then they respond to them and say, don't worry, Nigerians can't do anything. We know them. They will go to Arise, they will go to social media handles, they will go to X, they will go to channels, they will go to all those stations and exhaust themselves with big, as they call it, big grammar. And they speak, regurgitating their dissertations and PhDs and all of that. After that, the whole thing will die off. I said, really? I said, so when do you guys panic? He said, we panic only when Nigerians can come on the street. That's when we panic. But unfortunately, Nigerians hardly come on the street. And then that person told me the story of a country in Africa that their revolt is the reverse. When they are angry, they don't come out. They stay, the streets will be deserted, shops locked, and all of that. So the police has nobody to arrest for demonstration and all of that. And that they normally will cable Washington and say there's trouble. These people, no cars on the road. So the only time those handlers, the people that have hired our guy as an asset, the only time they will listen to what is happening in Nigeria is when the Nigerian people come out and say, peacefully now, and say, we are fired up. We can take no more. This is a song we used to sing during the apartheid days in the late 70s in Houston, your town. We used to demonstrate against the apartheid, and we used to sing, we're fired up, we can take no more. We're fired up, we can take no more. Nigerians have to sing this song and say, listen, we're fired up. We can no longer take it. And it shouldn't be in 2037. It should be now, so that we can write the timetable and say, here is what we want. And here is when we want it to be done.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lloyd. I appreciate that. We are doing this program. We have a population of over 250 million Nigerians. We cannot count. The reason we cannot count is because everything we do in Nigeria is politicized. This program that you and I are doing was more than well advertised. I can tell you how many Nigerians are watching us now. It's a distant, disgusting number of people watching us. If you were here selling pornography, this whole place would be, they will shut down YouTube. So don't you think there is something wrong with the minds of the Nigerian people? The way they react to pains, the way they react to things. We are talking about something as serious as what is killing Nigerians in their numbers. You don't see them. The only time they come is when you see these nasty Nigerian musicians who sing songs without content. That is when you see Nigerians in those big numbers. But when we are talking about serious national issues, you know what they do? The best they do, they convert them into comedy. How do you feel when you see this type of thing? Like me now today, as we speak, I hate Nigerian comedy. I hate Nigerian music. I don't listen to them anymore. I block them. I don't want to tell. If honestly, they are about to turn me into a dictator in some of the platforms that I manage. Because Nigerians, I don't know what it is with them that they don't react to pain. Is it normal?
Well, is again, we talk about people's behavioral patterns and the stimulus around them that make them behave the way they do. The culture of people is a people's way of life. So Nigerians have been oppressed for so many years. There's a very, I can't say it the way African Americans say it here. There's a popular saying that I have been down for too long. Getting up does not even occur to me. You know, the way they say it is so funny with their American accent. You know,
Yeah.
I've been down for too long. Getting up didn't even occur to me. So Nigerians have been oppressed for long and down for long. And any effort they made in the past to get up has been thwarted by the system. So what it means that part of their mind is conditioned to believe that no matter what they do, they will not be able to get out of this mess, which is very wrong, and which is what they want us. That's how they want us to be reasoning, to be thinking and stuff like that. But we on our side would continue to preach otherwise. And the thing is, it's not the whole Nigeria or the entire population of Nigeria that would come out. It's people like the impact you're making is so much, but you probably wouldn't know it. You're unable to gauge it. Well, if you want to gauge it, enter Nigeria, and if they arrest you at the airport, then you know that you've made so much impact. So we will continue to let the people know, the Nigerians know, that their power is infinitesimal. It's so enormous that they can not exhaust it. The younger ones, see, the younger ones are at big risk. See, because if you don't know a fake gold, if you don't know the original gold, you cannot determine fake gold. To be able to know a fake dollar, if you're in Nigeria, to know the fake one, you must have known how a good dollar looks. Nigerians, a lot of them, have never seen what good governance looks like. They have never seen it. So it's like imaginary to them. It's like a dream to them. They haven't seen it. So we are preaching to them that, listen, things can be better, you know, if you can come together and fight. Okay. So that's what we need to continue to do, to see if we can have some of these major institutions, MBA, the Nigerian students, and all of these groups come together. And that's why in the next few months, we're inviting Nigerians to your city, Houston, for a 3-day conference. A 3-day conference to gather and see how we can rescue Nigeria. We are bringing organizations, ethnic nationalities, all manner of people will be coming all over the world for 3 days to sit down and do what Americans did in Philadelphia, and sit down and play with ideas as to how we are going to use the 2014 confab report as a working document during that conference. So it will be an opportunity for Nigerians from all walks to gather and share ideas. Okay, and so that may be the beginning of what would happen in Nigeria. From that conference, from that convention, we will now form a committee to take our findings back to Nigeria. Some people might say, well, why should such a meeting not hold in Nigeria? Why foreign land? Well, our convention, conferences were held in London in the 40s and 50s to discuss how to emancipate ourselves. So holding it here is not an anomaly. It's been done before. The important thing is the result of what we will get will be taken back to Nigeria, to the National Assembly and stuff like that.
Great, Dr. Ukwu. Thank you very much. I want to take you on the question of what is taking place in the southeast of Nigeria. I wrote a very strong but very brief article this morning about the state of that part, especially with regards to the leadership that has been coming from that part of a very strategic part of Nigeria. It looks like the leadership of the southeastern, or called them the Igbos, is in disarray. And I am a child of history because I lived through some part of these very, very trying times in Nigeria, and that I did not need anybody telling me in any book. But so sadly, Obasanjo removed the study of history from our academic curriculum. We're going to come to that. And the same man who will write all the letters is writing, and because Nigerians are suffering from amnesia, they forget who true leaders are, you know. And that part of Nigeria, their political leadership has never been able to get it together since after the genocide that Nigeria made us believe was a civil war. You see, their political leadership, especially at the national level, like I'm talking about the governors, the state governors there, and the members of the National Assembly coming out from that place, they look like aliens who are disconnected from the people in the southeast that they are supposed to be serving. Do you have an input to make on that, especially with regards to the way the Nigerian army is deployed to kill people indiscriminately in that place, and in a manner that they don't do in any other part of the country? Why is the southeast under siege?
You know, we have been talking about the people, the power of the people. The southeast remains one of the strongest regions in terms of protecting its interest and its people. It's on record that they were not just making noises in the 60s. They took action. So history has it that these people here can be determined. When they're determined to do something, they can do it. So we must make sure that we prune their feathers and we cut them to size. So I think historically, it's affecting the psyche of the leaders, Igbo leaders. And it's also affecting the Nigerian leaders who want to make sure they place a lead on them to make sure that they are not organized, because they know that when the last time they were organized, they know what they did, and we don't want them to be organized again. And Nigeria is very good at buying consciences. A conscience is supposed to be priceless, but in Nigeria, they buy consciences. So they first minimize you, impoverish you, and then they begin to, to buy you. If you see the type of leaders that Igbos are bringing out, you will laugh, because here is one of the most educated part of the country, and the people they bring to lead them are mediocres. All of these things are done by design. It's not an accident. It's done by design. The federal government is well counseled, well advised by both local intelligentsia, and people from the UK and all that. They advise them. Some of my friends say, Lloyd, leave West alone. West cannot be involved. No, they are. They are involved in all of these things, So I think the legislators feel that they come from a conquered place, and therefore they must impress the system so they can, rise to become something big. They see the money flowing around, and they want to get it too. So that's my own personal opinion. Is that they have done so much to kill, their spirit. But see, the Igbo man never dies. If you block here, he goes there. If you block there, he goes there. He's doing very well in trade and commerce. He's doing very well in education. But in terms of government, they are trying to minimize them. Unfortunately, they cannot bring an Hausa man or a Yoruba man to be the governor of Imo State or governor of Abia State. So it must be an Abia man being a governor. And so what they do, they go and choose and work with the worst to be there. And when you manage to get a good one, like Alex, for example, you manage to get a good one, they infiltrate and make things very difficult for him, so that in the end, he would just not be well. And again, structuring will kill that, because
I want to ask you a follow-up question on that, because I am an activist. You know that.
Yes, a good one for that matter.
People take me on certain. Sometimes I get myself in a crossfire, but I must speak the truth the way it is. As an activist, one very important basic human right is the right to self-determination. And this right to self-determination is written boldly in the United Nations Charter, is written in the African Charters of Human Rights, and is written in the Nigerian Constitution. Nigerians, because they don't read, they create this narrative. Those who are responsible for the dysfunction that Nigeria is suffering, we created this narrative, very dangerous narrative, that people are not supposed to succeed, who deserve to be in a prison. So when they take me on that, I will tell them the right to self-determination is a basic human right. The Igbos have right to agitate for Biafra. Now, I see the reason I'm trying to build an analogy to the question I'm going to ask you. Now, when we see millions of young Igbos carrying Biafran flag, every time the issue of Biafra is mentioned, every time this talk about Nnamdi Kanu is talked about. Now, elections come and goes in Nigeria. Where did those millions of Igbos, who do they vote for? Who are they voting for? So why is it impossible for them to choose a pro-Biafran or a pro-Igbo leaders who can do the work of the Igbos at the National Assembly, who can work as Igbos as governors in their states? Where do those millions of protesters, where do they go when it's time to vote? If they said that PDP and APC does not allow them bring the type of leaders that they want, there are other political parties in Nigeria. So what prevents them from aligning what they call small political parties that can give them the umbrella to pursue their agitation for self-determination? Self-determination, and not really by breaking away, which I believe should be a last resort. A self-determination that will give them the right to question Nigeria and the right for them to be heard and for Nigeria to listen. Where do those people, those millions of especially young people, where do they go to when they vote?
Their votes don't count. We already know that their votes don't count. One of the things that they do is that, they have INEC. They have other institutions that are responsible for all these atrocities. So when they know that the votes can make a difference, they make sure that those votes do not count. You saw what happened in 2023. The result of 2023 was not a reflection of who voted and who didn't vote. It wasn't. So it's there. I have seen it happen in Rivers State. I've seen it happen in other places where I participated actively, as an election observer, where votes are just thrown away. So if Nigerians think that their votes will count, that is mistake number one. That's where we're going to fail. Votes in Nigeria do not and will not count in 2027. Period. So all those guys you see in Southeast agitating for Biafra, and they are demonstrating, if they wanted to vote and they voted, their votes would be reduced to nothing somehow. Okay, so that's the problem. And I think the issue of the right to self-determination is clear. It's very clear. I mean, it's all over the place. But my fear now is, I've been nursing this fear, is that the people that want Nigeria and the continent to remain behind, maybe at one point fueling the breakup of Nigeria at some point. Because Nigeria, as currently constituted with the numerical strength, is a powerhouse, is a major economic center where people can come and sell their goods, and so foreign companies can invest in Nigeria. If Nigeria were normalized with 250 million people, companies would like to set up their factories, their businesses in Nigeria. And so Nigeria will continue to be a greater country than it is now. So the so-called West may begin now to see how they can balkanize the place to reduce the power of Nigeria on the continent. So that's one area that, you know, I think they may be chasing us this way, but they will go that way and create a problem. If Nigeria can solve its problems and make Nigeria a fair place for everybody to live in, I guarantee you the Igbos would not want to live. There will be no Biafra. Because
absolutely.
They will be the ones to benefit very largely from an organized and well-built Nigeria. Because, you know, they are very industrious. You know, they can do stuff. They sell, they buy, they build things. So they need that population as well, okay? They've ventured everywhere. They've gone to the north, they've gone everywhere, neighboring countries, because Nigeria is trying to cage them. And they go out and still succeed. So that right for self-determination is always on the table. We, NADECO, always put it on the table. We don't take it out. And that's why in my earlier presentation to you, I said 3 things. 1, do we discard Nigeria and ask everybody to go his own way? That is the right to self-determination. It's always on the table. In the history conference, it's always on the table. The other one is to fix it, you know, repair it, change the valves, change the plug, change other things, and make it a new car. And then the third one is to do nothing, which is what the thieves want. Leave it the way it is so that we can rip off the country. But remember that the foundation of Nigeria is so weak that it cannot carry the country. No one has ever been able to build a house on quicksand. And so if Nigeria say, okay, no, let's just do it. No, Nigeria has to be brought to the ground and planned afresh and will build on it. And you will see quality people will emerge as leaders at that time, because money will no longer be the driving force. Today, it's money that is attracting all these characters. You know, people like Akpabio and the rest of it. It's money that is attracting them. Once you remove that money, remove all these perks, all these sirens that he's blowing with 4 motorcycles riding ahead of him. If you take all of those things out, whenever he's passing, nobody knows he's passing. He will go to Akwa Ibom, Uyo, and enjoy his money.
Great. Now, the very sad one. The reason, you know, it's so sad to me personally about this dichotomy between the North and the South. And especially it's emphasized in the North. Not now we're beginning to see a shift. It's becoming the far north of Nigeria, where 87% of Nigerians, my brothers, your brothers and sisters who live there, live under choking extreme poverty. And in the stranglehold of a Jim Crow feudalistic oligarchy. I'm saying this because of what happened in 2014 2023. We a few months going into the ill-fated presidential election, where one man who claims a Fulani man, a Fulani Usman Danfodio Fulani man, who claims that is the Sultan of Sokoto, that he's not supposed to be, because the Sokoto is an Hausa land. You can imagine a minority man leading millions of Hausa people in their own kingdom. He told them that they should vote for Bola Ahmed Tinubu because he was a Muslim. It didn't matter that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a man that we don't know anything about his birth, his place of birth, his parents, his history of education. A man who was a drug dealer here, prosecuted, found guilty, made to pay a restitution of nearly 500,000 US dollar, a certificate forger in a known university here in Chicago, Illinois, United States of America. He told them to vote for him, to line behind him, that they should be ready to die for him because he was a Muslim. And they're sadly too paired with a terrorist, Kashim Shettima, with ties to Boko Haram. So what can you make out of that? And they went and did exactly what he did. How can we bring those people into the mainstream of Nigeria to make them be the Nigerians that they are, and then stop driving this crazy northern nationalist agenda that has not done any good to them or any good to the country? That north is the biggest setback Nigeria has. I want you to weigh in on this because it's a vexatious thing, and I've been focusing a lot of attention on that part of Nigeria for some time now, since the past few months. What can we do to free these people and bring them into the mainstream of Nigeria, and they give them the right to their real Nigerian citizenship and not a northern Nigeria citizenship that benefits only less than 1% of the population there?
Well, you alluded to Nigeria not allowing history in their schools, in our schools.
Yes.
There's a reason for that, because history is a major component of politics of the people. History is major because you have to know what happened in the past and be able to predict what could happen, what's happening, what could happen in the future with some certainty. But you have to know what happened in the past.
Yeah.
The major difference between us from the South and them is the religion. The Islam is a total package for them. It tells them how to behave, what to do, what not to do, who to lead you. Don't allow an infidel to lead you. All of those things, but Christianity and other religions don't tell you that. So you see an old Muslim woman will be more knowledgeable than my old mother, because when that woman goes to the mosque, what she gets injected with is religion, Islam, is politics, is hate, is all of those things. Okay, in one go on a Friday, she takes a dose of all that, and that's what the kids also, their marjories, and that's what they get every Friday. You don't get love, but if you go to church, the Christians at least preach love. They preach love. They slap you here, turn the other side, which is basically love. So it's the religion that makes them believe that their creator doesn't want them to be led by someone who is not of the same religion with them. It's there, they preach it every day. So they preach it so long that it has become part of them. And that is why they tend to behave, no matter how educated. I just told you about, this, lawyer, very prominent lawyer, in the way of religion is like that, but also in ethnicity is like that too. You'll find people, even from the South, who would despise someone from another, because it's from another region. So it's a complex wank of issues. So, but the way to deal with that, and by the way, it didn't just come. It didn't just happen like that. When the colonizers came in, they took note of that. If you go back to your history, they took note of the way they were ruled and the way the Southerners were ruled, directing, all of those. So they took note of that and decided that it would be in their best interest, the colonizers' best interest, to empower this group more than this. And that empowerment is what is making them feel the way they feel now, because they have been empowered. It's easier for the colonizers to use one person who is a minority to hold down the entire country than for them to physically send soldiers, British soldiers, to come and hold us down. So they're using these individuals to hold down, the entire country. So over time, they have come to see Nigeria as theirs, belonging, to them. Even if they're not getting anything done for them, the Marjories are on the street and the rest of them, they have been indoctrinated. Here you have that popular ad that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. They have indoctrinated them, and their mind has been wasted. So it is one of the things that when we get together, we need to begin to disentangle, to break it into pieces, to see how these people, could be liberated. If they are liberated, they're good citizens. They are, nothing's wrong with them. But they need to be liberated. They are tied more to their religion than to any other thing. So that's what I see as the problem. And they are now being encouraged by outsiders. Even their influence is also coming from the Middle East. To continue to hold on to the people, to continue to hold on to Nigeria. The resources of Nigeria is at their beck and call. So, but if you level the field, they will be nowhere. And so that's why they don't want you to level, the field.
But if you look at, I think they have made the people there, the people in Nigeria, the victims. They are not the mass poverty. I lived in the north for 8 years. I've never seen the type of poverty I saw there anywhere on earth that I have been. So is it benefiting them, or is just benefiting a few people, the people who are holding them in stranglehold and by extension holding Nigeria hostage?
It's a feudal system. You said it earlier. It's a feudal system. It benefits just a few. That's all. Benefits just a few. If you let the system loose, that few will be gone in a second. And so they don't want it, let loose. That's why some of these policies that the president is advocating, they look at the impact it will have on their people. You remember that when Goodluck set up their Marjorie schools, they were uncomfortable because they felt that was going to liberate those kids. Okay, so what they look for is whatever will benefit them and protect their interest. And so the way to do it is gradually liberating, those people, because once they are liberated, then they will be better citizens and they would demand, for the best. And there's a reason they always come to the South to come and look for menial jobs and stuff like that, because there's nothing up there for them. And yet
sorry, money in your mouth, my brother. Now I have a question, regarding this, because I see I'm working very closely with some young men and women from the north, Muslim, very close to me. Some of my closest allies are Muslims. In fact, there are some great number of Fulanis who do not like what is going on in that place. In fact, there's one Ali Meshano, if you follow me on Facebook, you see a lot of work that we do together. That guy, his father was killed because his father did not want to belong to this type of thing. They killed his father. He grew up and said, they killed my father. I am going to continue the same thing my father was doing. He's all over the place, advocating for the dismantling of the apartheid system in the north of Nigeria. The question I'm going to ask is, there are Muslims. I've seen a lot of Muslims friends who are from Pakistan, from India, from everything. They don't behave the typical way some Nigerian Muslims behave. And there are Muslims from the south of Nigeria, a lot of Yorubas who are Muslims. They are very tolerant of other people's opinion. They have respect for space. They have respect for human dignity. They are not extreme like this Madam Fodio. Yeah, I always identify them, so I won't be generalizing. These people doing this are those with ties to Madam Fodio and his violent jihad that they want to continue. And why is it that the Muslims from other parts of Nigeria are moderate? They don't kill. They don't want you dead. They don't want. They still have accommodation for Nigeria, and then they understand the dynamics that Nigeria belongs to a lot more than just a religious ethnic group.
In Islam, they have many sects. Aside from the Sunni and the Shiite Muslim sects,
yes,
even inside them, they have various types. And the northern Muslims, I don't know, the Nigerian Muslims are basically Sunni. The Shiite was Zak, that was killed at some point. I don't know if he was killed, but his sect was attacked. The Nigerian people never liked the Shiite Muslim. So I think these behavioral patterns could be attributed to their sect and the environment, the geography, how they grew up, how what Usman Dan Fodio had in mind when he came to conquer the original Hausas who owned the place, and what he needed to continue to do to make sure that he held onto power. And the younger generations have done exactly the same thing to make sure that they keep the status quo, because they know that they arrived at where they are because of the things that their people did to keep the peasants, where they belong. I went to Kaduna for a very big event, and before I entered, I saw outside with kids with plates and pans and plastic containers and all of that. So I was wondering what was happening. The whole place, we had to cut through them to get in. When I got in, it was a big deal. I won't mention the event, but it was a big event that I was very privileged to be part of. My table was served very well because I was with one of the celebrants. So we ate. As we finished eating, those kids rushed in and they were collecting the food from the table. So when a young boy came to my table, he was trying to collect the remnants with the tissue which I used to wipe my hand inside the remaining rice. He was trying to collect it. I moved it away from him and gave him rice that was not touched. And I gave him 5 alive that I hadn't opened. Do you know that prominent friend of mine that I went with scolded me? Yeah. Prominent friend that we travel from here, from Washington. Scolded me, said, no, don't do that. So it's a way of life that you get used to. And I said earlier, in order for you to appreciate something, you have to compare something with something, you have to know how the good one looks. They have no alternative in their lives. That's how they grew up. They've seen it, like that. So they're okay, with that, and you have to really do much to open it up so that they can see more. And it benefits them and benefits the leaders of Nigeria, even the Southerners, because all they need to do is to go to their Northern friends and say, this is what we want done. And the Northern friends will pass that information to the lower Amajiris. So it benefits all the leaders to keep them the way they are. It benefits them to keep us, you and I, who claim to be exposed and educated. They're keeping us in a way that we can't help ourselves. Can we help ourselves? No, we can't. Nigerians, prominent Nigerians, educated Nigerians, very wealthy Nigerians can help themselves. And a few people a few people holding them to ransom.
Yes. Yes, as we speak, there are over 30 million young children in the North. Young, between age 6 and 15, waking up to hopelessness, begging for arms from AM to PM when they are supposed to be in schools. They live through the extreme harsh weather conditions in the North throughout the year and for years. They have emirs, they have sultans, they have state governors, they have members of the national and state assemblies, and especially those in the National Assembly who sees the destiny of Nigeria by a fake numerical strength that whenever they have opportunity to have access to the lever of power, they will create states that is in this equilibrium, that put Nigeria in a state of disequilibrium with the rest of Nigeria. And with all this, they are not able to do anything to lift these millions of children and the middle class and the older people out of poverty. What do they do with the budgets that they collect from Nigeria? What do they do with the money that they collect from the federation account? Why should they continue to be allowed to hold Nigeria hostage through poverty created and driven by them? But, Dr. Lloyd, there has to be a solution out of this. What can we do to end all these things?
We're doing it right now. You are doing it right now. That's the only thing we can do is what we're doing now. Because we're in a democracy, we have to exercise caution. We have to. We don't want a catastrophic revolution. We want a peaceful revolution to change, the system. But the system, as I said in the beginning, government is the most powerful institution in the world. It can do anything it wants to do. So you're fighting against one of the strongest institutions in the world. It's like fighting with another strong institution in the world, the military. The military is one of the most organized institutions in the world. And that's what makes government strong too, because they are part of government. They defend government policies and stuff like that. So the best way to go about it is basically letting the people know that they have the power to bring down this administration. The power, they have it. They don't know that they have it. They also need to know how to use that power. Because sometimes you can have the power and not know how to use it. They have to know that they cannot use it come 2027 during the election. No, that's not the power that they need. They need the power now to effect certain foundational and threshold changes. Now, not tomorrow. They need the power to do all those things now, so that when 2027 comes, it will be a walk over. First and foremost, INEC would have been fixed, because as long as INEC is there, and INEC is the one to come and announce the election, once someone is announced, forget it. There's not much you can do. So we need to fix it. So let's continue to sing the song that the Nigerian people have the power to pull down this, to stop this administration from wrecking the Nigerian corporate entity. That's basically it. They have the interest, personal interest, and their masters who are with us in Houston, in the oil industry, who are with us here in Washington, who are with us in Paris, in Brussels, in London, all those places. They are drumming. That's why the drums to which Tinubu and co are dancing is coming from. It's coming from all these cities. They are drumming and they are telling him what to do. They have a Bluetooth thing in his ear where they're telling him what to do. Even when he's addressing us, it's there. They're telling him, do this, do this. This is what you need to do. No, don't allow that to happen. Don't allow this to happen, because if it happens, you're finished. They are trying to trick you. So that's what is happening. But ultimately, the Nigerian people have the power to say, this is the type of country that we need. And what we need to do is to continue to educate our young people, who some of them, for lack of historical perspective, do not actually know where to stand. I see how they change very easily when a policy is put in place. They say, the man they try you. Huh? The man they try, you don't try. You
don't try.
No.
Yes, you're right.
He knows what is
yes,
doing.
You're right.
He knows what he's doing. So there's not a whole lot you can get out of him.
Yeah.
He will never. Tinubu and co will never shoot themselves in the foot. No, they will not support any policies that weaken their ability to rip off the system, to put their children in power, to put their grandchildren in power, they put their friends in power. Tinubu has bought up Niger Delta oil. He bought Ajib. He was recently in Ogoni looking into the drilling of oil in that place. He is a transactional president.
Very good.
President. And listen to this. Listen to this, my friend. To be a good leader, you must first be a good man. You must be a good man in the sense that you care for the well-being of your people.
Yes.
If you are a bad man, you can never be a good leader. Tinubu, by his personality, is a bad man. So how is he going to be a good leader? He's a bad man. What amazes me sometimes is how tolerant Lagos people were when he was in office. They were very tolerant. They knew he was taking their money. They knew he was not from Lagos. They knew he had no father, he had no mother, he had none of such things. But they couldn't do much. Nigerians have not had any president or anything close to it whom they didn't know anything about the school he went to or anybody that went to school with him. And yet he was their leader. And today he's the president. And 2027, he'll continue to be the president. And when he's leaving in 31, that's where you see the complete wreckage he will bring onto Nigeria. Who is he going to allow to take over from him? The terrorist Shetima? Who? Tell me, who is he? Is he going to allow a good man to take over from him? And when I talk about presidents, Goodluck Jonathan was by person a good man. His policies may not have come out well because of he
became a bad leader when he allowed the corrupt thieving and terrorist mastermind and northern leaders to hijack him.
Yeah, but remember that the Nigerian presidency or leadership was never created for a minority. It was never contemplated that a minority would be the president. So he came in there, and the problems associated with minority group, the same problems we talked about the Igbos, problems associated with being an Igbo man from the war, from other things, encroached on him, and he became powerless. And he started listening, to them, because he didn't have a base. You see, the Yoruba leadership, they have a base. Tinubu has a base. He's a Yoruba man. He has a base. So he can do anything he wants. They have intelligentsia. They have intelligent people. They have all kinds of things. They have the media. Even though, do you know that the media houses, most of the media houses are owned by people from the Niger Delta? But who controls it? We call it the Yoruba media. They control it because, they know how to move things. So you cannot blame Nigerians in a way. That may be where I would differ with you and others. I don't blame Nigerians too much. I just want them to know that they have the power and they should use it. And once they are sufficiently equipped with this type of preachings that you're doing, you'll be surprised that they move. I was in Nigeria during the End Bad Governance, and I participated in it, and I saw that they tried their best, but they were overpowered. They just tried.
Yes. Hey, Dr. Lloyd, it's been such a pleasure meeting you. I'm going to have to ask you two more last questions because we are running out of time. One of the first questions is national security. The porous borders in the north of Nigeria. What do you think can be done to fix that? Because majorly the problem we have, national security crisis we have in Nigeria stems from people crossing through the north into Nigerian territory. One is made possible because a lot of them speak Hausa. They come into Nigeria, take Nigerian identification card, have access to services reserved for Nigerians. What can be done to stem the tide of their inflow into Nigeria?
Well, a country that does not have control of its border is actually a playground. It's not a country. And that's what we have in Nigeria. Nigeria doesn't have that control. But in the south, in Benin, Seme area, Badagry, we have control. But in the north, there's no control. And you know the reason. I don't have to go into that. You know the reason. The Niger Republic and the northern part of Nigeria are basically one and the same. When Buhari was in office, he made it clear. He built things that crossed from Nigeria to Niger. I read in one newspaper that he actually built a retirement home in Niger. So
he's from Niger.
Yeah, they will not allow that boundary to be tight or tighter than it is now, because that means that their people will not be allowed to come in. So that's a very complex.
Yeah, but they cannot come and enjoy Nigerian and Chadian citizenship and come and enjoy the citizenship of Nigeria. So they are the reason the country's national security is compromised the way it is. So it's a question that must be addressed and addressed satisfactorily to the people of Nigeria, because majority of our national security challenges are coming in from there. That is where the problem is. And that is why we need men of courage, men who can think, real true patriots of Nigeria, who can put an end to this. So what type of leadership do you think is capable? Definitely, we can work out an arrangement to make sure that that place does not become a source of threat to Nigeria as it is right now. Nigeria is nearly, actually, I am a national security enthusiast. I know what to do to bring a country's national security down. It's just like we don't want to do it for the love of country. But I am troubled by what is taking place in the borders between Nigeria and the Chad, Niger, and to some extent Mali.
The movement of weapons come majorly from the Sahel region, from Libya, from all those places. And the Nigerian government, those in power, know that. They know that that's the case. But they have either been unable to do it or unwilling to do it. Maybe due to pressure from the northern elites. You can't stop our people from coming in and going out. So it's one reason we say that Nigeria needs to be fixed, because in the new Nigeria that we're expecting to have, it will have tight borders. It will have a better way to identify its citizens. It will have a way of controlling flow of weapons. It will have a way of making sure that everything is done legally. That's the new Nigeria you and I want to see. And that new Nigeria will not come unless we dismantle the one we have now. Again, it goes back to what we said earlier. We have to dismantle this and get a better Nigeria to take care of the security, the dying security situation in Nigeria. It's a complete disaster. Even in Lagos, when you see these guys carrying weapons, following their cattle and stuff like that, you know that it's a complete disaster. But there's not a whole lot you can do if you are trying to do it under Bola Ahmed Tinubu's leadership. He's not going to stop it because first and foremost, he doesn't have the legitimacy to stop anything like that. He doesn't have the basis to tell anybody that what they're doing is illegal. He himself was part and parcel of illegalities. So the new government, once in place, Nigerians would have a sigh of relief because they will see how the potentials will be maximized. Good leaders will emerge, boundaries will be protected, we'll have Nigerian Airways, we'll have all those things that make countries proud. So that when you go out to any other country, you'll be proud to brandish your Nigerian passport as a Nigerian, because this country has what it takes. Look at a tiny Jamaica. They've chosen sports and entertainment.
Yes.
And there's no competition. They are matching the best in the world. They're matching American teams and all of that. So what can Nigeria say we're proud of?
Nothing.
We have some of the best athletes. We have some of the best entertainers. We have some of the best professors. We have some of the best doctors, lawyers, engineers. But because our foundation is dirty, whenever you rise up, people close their nostrils because, you are the best, but you're smelly. So this new Nigeria that we're advocating will take care of all of these things. Because remember I said earlier that the new Nigeria would take into cognizance our past experiences so that we'll make sure that those things that hurt us, that brought us down, are completely derailed.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Lloyd. Before you go, 2023 election, Peter Obi was like a movement. And sadly, the election was stolen because it was very clear that he won the election. Election was stolen. He had this massive support of Nigerians. And the election went through institutional assault. All right, it went through assault by the Nigerian armed forces. It went through assault by the Nigerian traditional rulers. And, as things were unfolding, he kept on hoping. And then we were made to say, okay, when it was the turn of the judiciary to do their thing, all of us were clamoring and shouting, all eyes on judiciary. And then the judiciary did what they did. Now, on overall, look at Peter Obi as a person. Did you think that he handled the outcome of that fraud well? What did you expect from him? Because I had my own expectation. I know how much I did. I don't know him. I never spoke with him. People told me, oh, let's get you together to speak with him. I told them, no. What I'm doing is purely on patriotic, from a patriotic standpoint. I don't need to talk to him. He doesn't need to talk to me. And then we did all that. Did you think that he handled the outcome? He handled what followed well?
NADECO is a pro-democracy group.
Yes.
Our job is to deepen and strengthen democratic principles in Nigeria.
Yes.
A rule of law, accountability, good governance, and all the democratic principles. And so whoever
Nigerians felt that could assist in building a better democracy was who we personally, not as an organization, had support for. But in terms of Peter Obi, NADECO felt that the man was wronged, not because we feel that he won, but because there were legal aspects leading to the result of the election that were already flawed. So it's like what we call in law the fruit of the poisoned tree. You know, the fruit from a poison tree is gotta be poisoned. So the result of that flawed process was actually not acceptable by us. So the position we took was on the basis of the fact that all the laws, all the rules and regs that INEC itself put in place in order to make the result legitimate were broken by them. And we ask, for what? Why did they do that? So that's how we condemned the result of the election. Not because we are saying that Tinubu, Peter Obi won or Tinubu won. Won. It was from a legal basis. But in terms of what Peter Obi did, I think, and NADECO believes that he did the right thing. Because what he did may not have come out well. It tells you how much belief and confidence he placed on the Nigerian system, erroneously. He felt that there was a court and that a court was going to do justice as the common man's last place of call. I'm sure he honestly did believe so. Otherwise, he couldn't have allowed it to go the way it did. He allowed it to go the way it did because he felt so. And I think as bad as the outcome was, he was able to prove to us that we did not have a judiciary. He was able to prove to us all the bad things that you needed to know about Nigeria came out from this case. And I'm sure 2027, if we get there, he will no longer rely on the institutions of Nigeria, because the institutions of Nigeria are completely rotten. That's what lesson we got from it. If he didn't go to court, we probably wouldn't have known that the Supreme Court could make such a blunder on a matter that was as clear as it was from a legal standpoint. So yes, I think he, as a person, did the right thing. Remember, we said earlier, to be a good leader, you must be a good person. First, as a human being, you have to be a good person. That good person means you care for the well-being of other people. So I think the blunder he made is as a result of his goodness, believing that, listen, this thing is so blatant, it's so white that nobody can call it black. And they called it black. So it helps us to make the argument. We are strengthened now by what happened in 2023. We were strengthened by what happened in 1993, June 12th. We were. So coming through that June 1993, June 12th, 1993, through 1998, a new dispensation coming in till 2023, we have come to the lowest now. Lower, of course, than 1993, June 12th. So, and so we want to use this as a dashboard, as we did use 1993 as a dashboard to get to where we were in 1998. So this one here is going to be the last straw that will break the Nigerian system. This 2023 that they did. Yes, they're smiling to the bank that, they defeated Nigerians. But it's going to strengthen Nigerians, because any Nigerian who was of voting age then knew what they did, that they felt Nigerians were brainless. 4 a.m. in the morning, they announced the result. They just took us, for a ride and sent soldiers out to do whatever they wanted to do. And so that is one of those things I call experience of the past. We're going to use that to fuel and energies to fight the system and make sure that the system is corrected. Remember that it's not insurmountable. What we are fighting appears to be insurmountable, but it's not, if the people can come together. And if the people cannot come together between now and 27, forget it.
Great. Yes, very important. Tinubu was a part of NADECO. He fled Nigeria. You worked with him as a member of NADECO. Today, Tinubu forced his way on the presidency. He desecrated the presidency of Nigeria. The same thing that he ran away from, the use of the armed forces to come after opposition, is the same thing he is practicing illegally and illegitimately as a filthy ass sitting on the presidency of Nigeria. What can you tell Nigerians about that? And what is going to be is two questions. The second question is the attitude of the members of Nigeria's armed forces that see themselves as aliens fighting battles with civilians. The same soldiers who are not able to battle Boko Haram and Fulani headsmen that have circled the whole of the country. Give Nigerians your thought, because they want to hear. Somebody just sent me a message about this. So I decided to condense the two questions in one. One is Tinubu, who ran away from Nigeria because he believed that Abacha was after him. And then Tinubu, who forced his way into Nigeria using the same armed forces, the same tool Abacha used now to drive opposition underground and outside the country.
That's a very good point you raised, and I thank the person who sent you that message. In my lifetime as an activist, this is probably the greatest irony of a circumstance. Here is a man who rode on the back of fighting for democracy, and now turns around to fight democracy itself. It's the greatest irony of a circumstance. And again, when I look back to when we were with him here, when he was with us here in Washington, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all, because of the things he did while we were together. You know, when they took off from Nigeria, Abacha was chasing them. He flew into England, tried to get US visa to come here. He couldn't come in that first time. Chief Ralph Obioha, also a chieftain of NADECO, was able to get his visa and enter here, and gave a speech at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And it was at that speech that I met him. And when I introduced myself, he said, "Oh, we are looking for a lawyer to register NADECO for us here in Washington." So that's how I got involved in this.
Dr. Lloyd, there was a little interruption by network. Can you repeat what happened? You know, like you said, from England, you know, his effort, full-time effort to immediately secure a visa. Please get us back from there.
Okay, when Abacha started killing them, they ran off. The easiest place was to West African countries. Some ran into Ghana. I remember one chief, Pa Adaba, not this one, Pop Adebayo. He ended up in Ghana. And others who had the means and resources went to England, and the rest came to America and Canada. Tinubu first landed in England. Afobioha landed in England. And from England, Tinubu asked for a visa to enter the United States. He was denied entry. Ralph Obioha asked for a request to enter, made a request to enter. He came in. So he became the person who came in and began to set up NADECO in the United States. And that's how he became the head of NADECO USA. NADECO had several components. We had NADECO abroad, headed by Chief Anthony Enahoro. We had NADECO USA, headed by Chief Ralph Obioha. We had NADECO UK, headed by Chief Ralph Uwechwe. Is late now. Then we had NADECO Canada, headed by Chief Cornelius Adebayo. So I began to register the paperwork for NADECO in 1994. here in the US. But when Tinubu finally came in and found out that Chief Ralph Obioha had already set up the place, had an office, had everything, I provided an office to them in my law firm. My law firm, I had a whole floor. The sixth floor was all mine, so I had more than enough space. I gave NADECO a boardroom and the space. So from the day Tinubu entered, he started fighting to dismantle the leadership of Chief Ralph Obioha. So, of course, he had the resources. Chief Enahoro took sides with him, and other Yorubas took sides with him. And so Chief Ralph Obioha was more like a lone ranger. But he was so hardworking. He did so much, demonstrations every day, everywhere. We traveled all over the place, all over, went to Africa, Sierra Leone, Haiti, all of those places to drum up, support. So he was very, hardworking. So from day one till 1998, when Abacha passed, NADECO was in turmoil created by Tinubu.
Wow.
Yeah. While we were here, Ken Saro-Wiwa was hanged, I think, November 10, 1996. And so we boycotted Shell gas stations. We were demonstrating, went from Shell gas stations to Shell gas station, demonstrating. And Tinubu had a Shell gas station in Washington, D.C. And I wanted to go there and picket and demonstrate. He said, no, it's owned by Tinubu. I said, no, I don't care.
I don't care. Shell is Shell. Like as we speak, up till now, even if my gas die and my car dies in front of Shell, I never buy their gas. I was in South Africa when all that started. I know what Mandela did. He brought Shell on its nose in South Africa. That was a leader. A leader who will rebel against his own system is a leader. That is what we want in Nigeria. Yes, go ahead, sir.
So I led the group. As general counsel, I was supposed to be behind the scene, because I was next in line to the leader.
Yes.
But I led it. And from there, the manager of the place called Tinubu and told him that I have come to disrupt his business. So I think at the end, his business was rendered comatose. He later sold the Shell gas station. But all through the fight, he never showed up to any of our demonstrations. I never saw him in any single demonstration, not one.
He was a mole.
Yes. I later saw him in London. We went to Nigerian embassy to demonstrate. And I was there to see if I could settle the rift between the two factions of NADECO, the Enahoro faction and the Ralph Obioha's faction. So Commodore Suleiman asked me to come to London, and that would be a better place. Chief John Oyegu was there and all of them. So when we went there, it was very cold. And they were sitting in a car, a BMW, and the engine running for the heat to warm them up. So they asked me to come to the front seat of that car so that we can begin to discuss, because there was no place for us. The demonstration was going on and the car was parked somewhere. From afar, I think Tinubu saw me entering his car. And he just came in, opened the front seat and told me to get the hell out of the car.
Wow.
Yes, and I thought the people who invited me would have said, oh, no, Senator, we asked him to come. They didn't, pim, as they say in Nigeria, pim, they didn't say. Because, he bought their ticket there, he did everything for them, so they didn't say anything. So that's how he chased me out. That settlement never took place until we came back to Washington, and I wrote a letter to Chief Anthony Enahoro asking him to please make sure that we have one NADECO instead of two NADECO. And that's how I settled that. Because eventually Chief Anthony Enahoro invited me to his house in Virginia. And everybody was saying he was going to curse me because the tone of my letter was very harsh. Very harsh. When I showed it to Chief Obia said, have you given him this letter? I said, yes, sir. Oh, no, Lloyd, you shouldn't have written such a letter to Chief Enahoro. No, we can't. I said, but I have to say the truth. So he's the leader that we wanted to take care of the place. But anyway, to make a long story short, when I got in there, he brought 2 glasses, put ice here, and brought a bottle of whiskey. Was poured it into his, was trying to pour into my, I said, but Daddy, I don't take alcohol. He said, but you're going to take alcohol today. So I said, oh, Mogbeo, let me take it. So I took a little bit. You know what he said? Young man, I want to thank you for the guts to say what you said to me in writing. I am very happy with you. What do you want me to do? I said, I want you to make NADECO one. He said, it's one now. Take me to Rafa Obioha. Let's have dinner. The problem is solved. He said, this thing you did was what he himself did to Awolowo in the 50s or 60s. But he wrote him a note, and he was expecting Awolowo to castigate him. And Awolowo invited him and said, young man, you are a good material. So the theme of what I'm saying is that Tinubu was more of a spoiler here. So when I relate it back to what I know of him as an asset and all of that, it began to make sense. Now, let me ask you this question, or it's a rhetorical question.
Go ahead.
When Tinubu says that if the FBI, CIA, DA releases my record, it will cause me irreparable harm. Do you know what what irreparable harm might have been? It's not the drug case, because the drug case was already in the open. There were other things that he did that he didn't want the Nigerian people to know about.
Yes.
And those things may have been far back into 1993, far back into Abacha, far back into MK Abiola, far back into other things that happened in Nigeria.
Yes. Abiola died. Abacha died under very questionable circumstances. All right. We know. Now, Dr. Lloyd, thank you very much.
I've not answered the second part. Where
Go ahead.
I think you said something about the soldiers.
Yes.
Yes.
The attitude of Nigerian soldiers. Yes.
The military is an integral part of the Nigerian government. And Chief Bola Ahmed is the commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. So whatever he wants is what the armed forces will do. If the armed forces breaks away from that routine, what it means is a coup.
Okay, yes, the armed forces of Nigeria constitutionally, even if they said that a president, even I don't recognize Bola Ahmed Tinubu as my president. He's not my president. I will never recognize him. I will never do anything to validate him. That is why I don't talk about any of his policies, because speaking on them validates him. He's an evil man that is not supposed to be there. If I have my way, if only me can do it, I will pull him out of that place. But I cannot do it alone. That is why we are speaking to Nigerian people. Stand up and take your rights as citizens of Nigeria. Now, the Nigerian Armed Forces, the way it's structured, some of us have been in it. Some of us know a little bit about how it works. The Armed Forces of Nigeria is supposed to be a neutral force. Armed Forces of Nigeria is supposed to be a patriotic force. The Armed Forces of Nigeria was designed to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria and never to support or prop up any government. But the Armed Forces of Nigeria has become a political entity. That is where what the problem is. The drivers of the Nigerian army and the other forces, security forces, are politicians. They are lost. They do not understand their constitutional rules. And where we have the problem, the greatest trouble, how Bola Ahmed Tinubu became president of Nigeria was the service chiefs led by my own person from Mr. Lucky Rabo. They call him general. I know he's a mister. He's not a general. A general will never behave that way. Seeing your country in turmoil, in that kind of situation, they all knew the truth. The service chiefs at that level, I'm talking about Buhari's exit service chiefs, they were supposed to be the one to stop Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They will walk to Buhari and tell him, no, we are not going to allow this. And they were asked to Buhari before that. But they collected money and did nothing. And then he asked this, because the reason why I'm saying is the trajectory has been the Nigerian Armed Forces has become a political part of APC and any other government in power. What can we do to change that? Go ahead and make your opinion known, sir.
Okay, see, the thing is this: that question is almost redundant. Tell me one institution in Nigeria, not two, one institution in Nigeria
None.
that is doing the right thing. It's not. The one we thought would at least pass the smell test was the judiciary. The judiciary is worse now, you know. So there's no institution that would be in part of that fruit of poison tree that will not be poisoned. It's not. And that is why what we are saying is not let's just remove INEC. Let's do this. No, let's overhaul the entire system. Let's overhaul the entire system. You're talking about the military. In that overhaul, the military will take its place. The military will know what it must be to be a legitimate institution that protects the boundaries of Nigeria. So there's no institution that I know of today that is doing the right thing. None.
Okay, before we go, you know, we have taken a lot. You're a busy man, and somebody sent a comment here from YouTube. He said the military today has been hijacked by America. Corruption has become the order of the day. The Nigerian military intelligence are controlled by Israel. A quick response to that, sir.
Well, I don't know about Israel, but I do know about America. That America, and you may not believe it, seems to be Nigeria's greatest problems today. It is. Because you see, go back to see what Obama used his Secretary of State Kerry to do to Nigeria when they ushered in Buhari. David Axelrod, one of Obama's aides, was actually put a team together that stayed in a co-hotel to do all the dirty work, all the media work, all those teams that were developed by Buhari were put together by these guys. The information is all over the place. Where the last gentleman, they were told to leave Nigeria because they felt that if Buhari won, that there was going to be crisis from the Niger Delta. So they were rushing to leave the country. One of them missed his flight in Lagos. One of the guys that Obama put together and sent to live in Lagos. Okay. And then Joe Biden, as you know, was his vice president. And so he continued with that policy. And if you saw what Anthony Blinken did, it was exactly a carbon copy of what Obama did. They've been able to infiltrate Nigeria. All the blocking of FBI, DEA, CIA report was by the US government. So why? Here is a country that spends millions and millions of dollars to make countries to become democratic. But behind the scenes is making them undemocratic.
Wow.
You know, I know so much that I wouldn't put out in the public.
Yeah, leave it for now. Leave it for now.
About the role they played through the US embassy in Abuja to make sure that they scuttled the democratic process that Nigeria was gaining. So that, to me, not Israel. If Israel is doing something, it's probably at the behest of the US to go and help us do this, go and help us do that. And there is nothing this West would do that would help Nigeria. No. So
all right,
we have to rely on ourselves, and the people of Nigeria have to do the work for themselves. When we want to solve our problems, we should come together, what I call the collective resistance of the Nigerian people, to come together and make sure that we take back the country. It's not by accusing any country and all of that. We have to come together and do it.
Thank you, Dr. Lloyd. Thank you very much. Now, do we expect a policy shift from Donald Trump? A policy shift in Nigeria? Do we expect anything new from Donald Trump? Or you think he's going to continue the same policy?
You know, most policies in the US are kind of the fundamental policies are etched in stone. You know, they are foreign policies. They're not things they change daily. But again, the president of the country has a leeway to make one or two changes. For instance, we asked Biden to classify Nigerian government as a country of interest, you know, because they were slaughtering non-Muslims. But, you know, Biden refused. He, you know, might do it. And the reason he might do it is he is trying to dismantle everything that the Biden administration put in place. And so this may be one of the things. In our detailed letter of congratulations that we sent to him, we placed all of these things, you know, and we refused to make that letter public again because it had so much information. And we have also sent a letter congratulating the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, detailing exactly the information, the facts and figures that we have about the role of the State Department in Nigeria that is attempting to derail the democracy in Nigeria. So yes, this president is definitely going to do much better than Biden. It couldn't be worse than you know, Biden, because he's going to make sure that anything that Biden put in place is touched. You know, so that's the good part of it. You may hate him or dislike him for what he's doing as far as immigration is concerned, but as far as Nigeria is concerned, it's a plus, and we're trying to exploit that avenue.
I share in that sentiment with you. I'm as NADECO, I think we should make a very concrete effort to meet Marco Rubio and by extension Donald Trump on the issues surrounding the retardation of Nigeria in particular and Africa as a whole, and the role U.S. companies are playing in wrecking that continent and Nigeria in particular. And the issue of human rights in Nigeria. We must leverage our access to the citizenship of the United States. I think that is something that we need to discuss, you know, very seriously. And then mobilize Nigerians, not sitting down like everybody sits down and they feel comfortable. I know you do a lot, and I really appreciate you for what you do. I don't know where you get your energy, and I'm hoping that Nigerians who are watching today and who are going to be watching this later, we have a deep understanding of what their country, the reason their country is where it is, and exploit your depth of understanding and knowledge and participation in bringing about true democracy in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Now, I want you to give your final words to the people of Nigeria. Is there any hope for Nigerians, or are we going to continue on this trajectory?
Yeah, my first final word will be to us in the diaspora. We're also a major component of the problem, because we work so hard and we make good money, and when we send $100 to our loved ones, they get 170,000 naira. So we seem very comfortable because we can make our loved ones comfortable, but we're not doing enough. We need Nigerians in the diaspora to support NADECO. You know, not necessarily financially, but you need money to do anything anyhow. But we want the moral support. We want Nigerians to go to our website, www.nadeco.us, or send us email, nadecoamerica@gmail.com. We want you to participate. But as far as final message to the Nigerian people, continue to be hopeful, but remember that hope is as dangerous as it is good, because the man who is dying of cancer in the hospital has hope. Otherwise, when you bring him medicine, he's been told by the doctor that he will die in a week. But if you give him medicine, he still takes it. And what makes him take it is because he has hope that perhaps this pill can make him defy the doctor's prognosis. So in that extent is good because he keeps trying to live because he has hope. But the hope that is bad is the hope that nothing is going to come out of it. But let's hope, Sha, as Nigerians put it. Continue to hope. Nigerians will continue to hope for a better Nigeria. It won't come. So they must work for a better Nigeria. They must work for a better Nigeria. And working for a better Nigeria is the entire team that we spent this afternoon from Washington and evening in Nigeria, is to continue to fight and see how we can emancipate the people of Nigeria. Everywhere that I went in Nigeria during my search for support, they were saying, please, we are waiting for you people. We are old. We are tired now. Only you people can save Nigeria. Only you people can save Nigeria. And the people they are referring to are the people in the diaspora. They're saying, even prominent people like the head of Afenifere, I went to visit him. He said, young man, we are hoping on you now. I went to see Afe Babalola. He said exactly the same thing as if they held a meeting. He said, Lloyd, we are hoping on you. So Nigerians are looking forward to who is going to rescue them. And we here need to come together and put the force together and help to rescue them. And the job they have to do is to come together for us so that when we ask them to move, they move. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Lloyd Ukwu, the president and CEO of NADECO USA. Thank you. I think this is one of the very best I have had in the past few years. You laid it out. Nigerians watching, Africans watching. It is up to you. Your destiny is in your hands. And there's nothing but us. Only us can stop us from being what we want to be. Like Bob Marley said, he said, we refuse to be what they wanted us to be. Yes, we are what we are. That's the way it's going to be. So let it be like this. Let us take our destiny in our hands. We can make it happen. And everything will be all right. Africa, Nigeria has much more than the United States has in resources. I'm telling you, what we have, what we lack is that leadership that will take us away from there. And that is why young men like Ibrahim Traore, yes, the young man in Senegal, the young man in Mali, the young man in Niger, this is the reason why we must aggregate around them. Africa needs the best of its revolutionaries to set the African continent free. Africa for Africa. Yes, Americans did it for America. The British people went all over the world, exploiting the world for Britain. Indians did it for Indians. Why can't we Nigerians, why can't we Africans do it for ourselves? Good night from Houston, Texas. My name is Smart Mado Ajaja. I'm the convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite and the anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and the Nightingale Radio International from Houston, Texas. Please subscribe to our channel, share our message, and comment and give us advices on how best we can do to serve you. Bye for now. Hey, thank you again, Dr. Lloyd. I appreciate you, sir. God bless you.
Our viewers, I thank you so much. I thank you.
Great job. Great job. You did great.
Are you going out? Using your car?
No, I was not.
Okay, but I need to go drive. I was trying to send you a text. Maybe stop. Was too. Damn.
How long was that?
Huh?
How long was it?
2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And before this, I checked my blood pressure. It was 170 or something. So I will refuse to be doing things like this because I get.
I thought you were done. I thought you were just chatting again.
No, because he talks about everything as if I know so much about it.
But you do.
Yeah, so much about Nigeria. You went everywhere, Just tell us about this, tell us about that. And the way he advertised me is the man you've been waiting for. I said, damn. I nearly backed off today. No. But when I saw the advertisement on WhatsApp and everywhere, I said, it could be a big disappointment. So let me go put my shoes on and go see if I can. Because my medicine, they say by tomorrow they will return it. I need to go pick up my prescription. I'm going late today. Look at this program. I brought water to drink because I see my mouth go dry.
Did you ever drink it?
No, I didn't even know there was water. I just saw it now. Your mom is clearing the table.
So can you tell how many people are watching?
I don't know, but he said that the number was too
Low.
Too low.
Oh, it's live.
Yes, right.